about what's going to happen.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Aloha from Hawaii.
Hello.
Hello, everybody from Hawaii. We're just going live here on
Awesome.
YouTube. All right, so we're live. So welcome everybody to the Human Mind Programming Grid Word Code. Grid Work by CLINT BAGGETT. So we are very excited to be here today. We are going to dive in deep into this content, to doing our word code. So I'm excited to have Tony from down under the Aussie land. Yay, Tony, you're here with us. And then Terry from the opposite side of the planet in Hawaii. Another bit of paradise. We've got the different points of paradise on the planet. We also have, let's see, we have somebody, we've got my dear friend Rumi, my other fellow mystic, genius mystic healer. We do a lot of coherence healings together. She's in Laguna. And let's see, who else do we have here? We have Carolyn. Carolyn, I would love for you to share with us where it is that you're tuning in from. And who else? I think I've got everybody on there so far. So thank you everybody for joining us. Oh, we got somebody else coming in. We've got Pollyanna. So Pollyanna is just joining us too. We've got 7 participants so far. We might have a few people that will, I know that there's a couple of people who told me they were going to be on here. So they're probably about to jump on too. So Pollyanna, I don't know if you can hear us yet.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Wonderful, Pollyanna. Whereabouts are you tuning in from?
Fairfax, California, Marin County. It's north of San Francisco.
Oh my gosh, Marin County. So beautiful. I consider Marin County the home of John Gray from Mars and Venus.
Yeah.
So that's such beautiful, beautiful area. So we're so happy to have you here too, Pollyanna. So we're going to get started. It is, I think, just a couple minutes. Yep, a couple minutes past the hour. So Clint, I am going to make this so that you can share your screen if you need to.
Okay.
So I put that so that you can share your screen. I think we have all our audio settings. Everybody can hear everything fine, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So nothing has changed since the last Zoom I did 45 minutes ago. So fantastic. So Clint, I'm so happy and excited. This is the second of a 5-part series. Oh my gosh, the last session, we covered so much ground. I don't know if you want to do like a quick little recap, but I know you did go over the fact that, you do a 16-word grid, but we can do 3, 6, 9. You could do 2, 4, 6, etc. Do you want to? I can hand over.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Figuratively hand you the baton.
Sure. No, thank you. Yeah. So last week, I drew a grid live just to kind of show people the process. We talked about what, I think most people call pivoting, but really it's just understanding that in every negative emotion we have, there's an ask. And sometimes if you're trying to find those words to connect to, looking at what is that pain or that anger or that hate or that whatever the negative emotion, that lack, what is it looking for, and finding it. Because when you're first starting out, for me, where I was when I started out was, honestly, I woke up every morning angry. I'm just going to be really truthful, right? Like I was just in that place, right? There's a lot of confusing things going on in my life. I didn't really. I was looking for more happiness, fulfillment. I'd made a lot of progress, but it came down, I think, to me, I think the universe leads us exactly where we need to be and helps us to discover the things that are needed for us at the time, right? So that's kind of when I stumbled upon this idea, the concept of the grid work, inspired by some things that I had heard on the teachings of Abraham via Esther Hicks. And so I just started getting up in the morning and I would make a little grid, and so I tried, 3x3, all this stuff. Like you said, for me, what I found worked was a 4x4 grid. And I would just write down an emotion that I wanted to feel happy. Right. And then I would sit there and I'd think about what does happy mean to me? What can I remember feeling happy? And I would think about the times that it's happy. And I'd, if you would just even kind of like meditate on the word happiness, right? Sometimes I would take a word if it was like sure, or confidence, or satisfied. Satisfied's a really great one. Satisfied seems to be a doorway to a lot of things I found. If I'm really struggling to get from the negative emotions into the positive ones, satisfied is a uh, real helpful word. So I would just sit there and I would count the word satisfied, satisfied 1, satisfied 2, satisfied 3, trying to reach for those words. And sometimes I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, but if there was a really dominant negative vibration in me, like, sometimes I was feeling really hurt or nervous or, unworthy, whatever it might be, right? I could go, well, if I'm feeling unworthy, then what I'm wanting is to feel worthy, right? So what does worthiness feel like? What is that? So I wouldn't, think about why am I unworthy and what happened that made me unworthy. Just you know what, just leave all that behind. Look, I got this now moment, and in this now moment I know that I can find this, especially if my heart is asking for it in such a big way that I'm feeling this strong negative emotion, then this must be something I really, really want, right? So I would just let go, and I might say things in my mind like, I might release obligations or release judgments or opinions, right? Just release those things that kind of generate some of that unworthiness. I've come to realize as I've been doing this, I feel like, we think of negative emotion as this bad thing that we want to run away from, right? But a lot of times, we're here and what we want is here. And negative emotion is some belief or idea that we have that really is blocking us from it. And even when we're in a really good state, we wonder why sometimes negative emotions come back up. And I think it's because the thing we want is on the other side of that belief. And what we have to do is figure out how to get down that. A lot of times we want to try to deconstruct that belief or really break it apart. But sometimes it's just easier to just go around it straight to the thing you want, or to just release or start to let go and dissolve those beliefs. But listen, to me, it's about listening to your heart. That's what the grid, that's what, to me, what I call pathfinding. It's what it's all about is learning how to listen to yourself and follow your internal cues, even if they're, just the desire for something or a negative, the lack of something. What is that thing you want? So that's what we talked about a little bit last week is, one of the processes, writing the words, putting those, putting the counterpoints, the pivot words, the other side of the coin, if you will, in, so if you're feeling, insecure or unsafe, use the word safe, right? Because safe is what you want to feel, and reach for it. You may not just hit it right away, but if you keep reaching for them, and then you can kind of use the cross sections. And then what happens is, you use that section, like here, you could say, I did a triangle grid just to show the difference. But, if I was looking and wanting to feel kind, and this isn't just feeling kind, this is receiving kindness. I want to be kind. I want people to be kind to me. I want to feel kindness. I want kindness to be a part of me. I want that to resonate in me so that I attract it, right? And I want to feel happy. Well, if I know those two words, I can think then, if I was feeling really kind and I was feeling really happy, what would that emotion be like? And so then I think about those two things together. What is the combination of kindness and happiness to me? Not the technical answer, not the that you're going to get graded against this answer, but the personal answer. What does it mean to me? And to me, it might mean fun, right? So then I was like, yeah, if I was if I felt like everybody was being kind and I'm happy, I probably would be having fun. And so then I would think about fun, and then I might use fun with a word like safe. If I'm having a lot of fun and I feel really safe and secure, man, it's probably a time in my life when I'd be experiencing a lot of joy. So I could just feel joy. And the great thing about this is, you can use your memories, you can use your imagination. There's a quote from Carolyn K. Arnold from a TED Talk where she says, the miracle of your mind is that you can see the world as it isn't. You can remember the past and you can imagine the future, right? So we have that ability to call back on those moments. And our brain, when we call back on those moments or when we imagine our future moment, doesn't always know that it doesn't know that it's not happening in that. And in that moment, we can experience the feelings that we have. This is kind of why negative trauma is so perpetuated. We just keep rewriting that negative emotion again, over and over again. We can do the same thing with our happy emotions, and we can practice them. And so that's why I do grid work. I get up every morning and I remember not who I am or who I was. I remember who I want to be. And I find who I want to be in that day. And I feel that, because as I feel that and experience that in this now moment, each now moment becomes my past. So I'm shaping my future by deciding who I want to be right now.
So I love what you're saying. You're saying that at the beginning you said you released obligations and judgments because what you wanted was to feel kind and happy, and what you were feeling was honestly, you were waking up every morning feeling angry.
Yeah.
And you were feeling angry and you were upset and you were clearly not happy. But what you wanted to reach for and what you wanted to create was happy. But at first, you didn't even know what happy felt like.
Yeah.
So you made a conscious choice to let go of obligations, let go of judgments, basically anything that wasn't serving you that you were aware of, so
Right.
that you could allow yourself to rise up to feeling that state of happiness, which really was a forward reach because you didn't feel happy in that moment.
Right.
And so you were really, as you're saying, you were coding yourself and creating what you want to be in the short term future. And so your mind doesn't know that you're actually, coding yourself for the future. It just knows what you're focusing on right now.
Right. Exactly.
You're listening to your heart. And I think one of the most powerful things that you uncovered in our very first, in the introduction to this grid work, was that negative emotions are an ask. That is
Yeah.
such a powerful distinction because every single human being has experienced negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions. And when we are now aware and we're noticing that anytime you have a negative emotion, it's really your inner being saying, I want this and I'm not getting it. And that's why I'm mad, angry, sad, frustrated, resentful, pissed, ticked off, going postal, whatever those negative things are.
Yeah.
Because I'm not happy. I'm not feeling good.
Right.
So is there something else that you want to share around that? Because that's, to me, a monumental epiphany.
Yeah. It's doing this, right? So for me, it was big to me. I think when it started is I realized, as we had talked before, I used to be on a bunch of medications. I realized I could take all the medications in the world. It wasn't going to. I might feel better. My body might release the chemicals, so it might emulate a good state of mind for a period of time. But if I'm not thinking right, I'm not holding that on my own, right? And so, that's why I say medicine can be very helpful, especially in difficult times. But we have to do something ourselves to take control of that. And that's when, I just realized, I'm like, look, no one's going to do this for me. No one's going to figure out how to be happy for me. And I don't want to depend on someone else to be there to make me happy all the time. Like, I need to be able to do it on my own. I need to be able to figure it out myself. And so, if setting out on that journey, it's a big order to take because life's complicated. It's full of interesting things and there's crazy stuff happening in the world. And I'm just one person. What do I do? How do I process all of these thoughts and emotions? And so there was a lot of, to me, just training, getting up every day. What is worth thinking about? What isn't worth thinking about? What can I do? What should I do? And when you're trying to find, to me, that compass, that true north to make decisions, right? You need a point of reference. So there was also that element of this was helping me to stay on my point of reference. I'll actually, I'll draw something for you. I'll flip this over if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, so just when you think about kind of the shape of the grid, and this is really geeky, so if you guys aren't familiar with Star Wars, you may miss a little bit of this, but the grid essentially was a square, right? And I was putting, a word here, here, and here in these rows, and creating an intersection, and every intersection was my grid. And so I was playing with that, and I started to look at the relationships between the words as they'd go, and I was having fun with it, and it's like that was a big part of it. It was kind of fun to see when I wrote down, that happy ended up next to satisfied, or satisfied ended up next to joy, you know what I mean? And see all those relationships, and that's when I started to realize how coherent positive emotions are. Positive emotions, they're all coherent. Negative emotions tend to be really, really distinct and specific. You know what I'm saying? So it's one thing that I can find is that as you do this, you'll start to see that relationship. But as I was creating that framework and kind of creating that picture of my life, I was looking to go, well, what if I went diagonally and I made what if I went diagonally and looked at my connections this way? So I was just kind of drawing a dotted line across my words, playing with it. And I came up to this. And if you can use your imagination a little bit, or if you guys remember from the first Star Wars movie, there's a part where Luke Skywalker is flying down this tunnel and they're saying, stay on target, stay on target, stay on target, right? And he's looking through a little computer grid down a tunnel. And all of a sudden those dotted lines gave depth to me, right? Instead of seeing just a flat connection, I started looking in this as three-dimensional. So it came to me that realized that this grid is my now moment. And that focus in the middle is where I'm headed. So this started to become my point of direction, right? This is how I'm going to look. This is how I stay on target, is by maintaining my grid, by deciding how I want to feel when I go into this, which, this led to me, like, sometimes before a call, with work or something, like, if I had 10 minutes, I'd go sit down and make even a small grid, just 3x3 or something, right? Because I wanted to have a point of reference that I knew going into the experience. These are the signals, these are the cues that I want to pay attention to. And also, if something feels like it's not coherent with this grid, maybe I need to back away from it or change the way that I'm thinking about it, right?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, because I think one of the powerful things that you said was that you took the personal responsibility. I mean, you made the choice that you needed to be happy and no one could do this for you. So
Right.
you were taking ownership of your state of being. You realize, okay, I'm waking up mad. I'm angry every morning. As soon as I am conscious, I'm genuinely angry. No one can make me happy. No one can do this work for me.
Right.
So you took inspired action and you chose this. You had a choice. You didn't have to do this.
Oh,
But the
right.
alternative was you could either stay as you were angry and continue to get the results from,
Spiral. Yeah.
yeah, and just continue through that. And it's not just a spiral that this is a straight line, because things can actually get infinitely worse.
Yeah.
Or if you take personal responsibility for your own happiness and your own state of being, you can now make things infinitely better. So now that magical things keep happening to you and just awesome things keep coming your way, and things can get infinitely better.
Yeah.
So, but you made the choice. You're like, enough is enough. I've woken up one too many days angry, and this is not working for me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Tim.
Sorry, it's just it's really inspiring, Clint. So
Thank
I've
you.
been for the last week I've been onto it. I've been playing with it,
Oh, very
and
cool.
it's been very freaking cool. So I went by 3x3 because I'm a bit anal, and then at one point I just exploded and just words would come up. So I wasn't looking for the positive compared to the negative. I was just like, okay, happy, and then it was healed, and then the next word would just jump out, and they seemed to jump out in their own little pattern. Wherever,
Yeah.
and they just came forth, and I would feel into it, and then I did what you said. I just drew these lines, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's crazy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You
And
can
so
really you can get geometric with it and just play with it, right? It's
and
fun.
it's webs. And as I was streaming and going, oh, happy, well, and I don't know, warmth are
Yeah.
all interrelated, and it just creates this warmth inside. And then I went, nourishing, ease, and whole, and they're all just, and it was just fun.
It is.
And as soon as I
fun.
got 3x3, it was a little bit more anal, a little bit like convoluted. It was a bit like having and so I realized that's just great, because I wasn't looking for resolve. I'm like, what would I like to create, or what's the feeling that wants to come? And it's like love might come in, and then gratitude to its left, and then trust, and then oh my God, freedom, and then I went back to each one of them and felt into it and actually felt the feeling. And then I kept this little diary thing in the kitchen. I kept it where I went to work, and every now and then I'd go to it just to come back to it, bring up all the feelings and emotions, so that I wouldn't leave it till the end of the day. That it was like there was moments throughout the day where I could just pick this little diary and look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have that established in your vibration for the day. So every time you go back to it, it's a quick and easy call, and what I found, the great thing is the more I have done this, the easier those come up, and so I love what you're saying there, because it's a real powerful distinction. I talk about how to get there from negative emotion for anybody who might be struggling, but it's not always about from bad to good. It can be about from good to better too. Like, I wake up some days and I'm happy as can be. Guess what I still do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hey, what do I find? And some days I'm not looking for words. I can just literally sit down and go, what do I feel this morning? I feel happy, man. I feel excited. I feel like inspired. And you're right. Then the words come. And like, I found on those days, like 16 words aren't enough. So sometimes I'll fill my grid in, and then I'll fill the spaces in between the grid in. And just, I've tried, like, doing the four corners first. Sometimes I'll go around in a spiral. I mean, it can get very geometric, and if your mind works that way, that's where I think the fun comes with it. And but even to that point, right? This is a moment for you to explore yourself, for you to understand yourself, for you to connect with yourself, with your inner being, with what you want, and really get that personal relationship, because that is really ultimately what it has become to me in my life. Is that is my time to connect with me, to talk to myself, to go, hey man, what you feeling in there, like, how you doing today, what kind of day do you want to have, let's do this, let's get out there and make this the best day that we can. And some days I'll wake up and maybe there's a situation in my life that's troubling. Before, I would have freaked out, and I would have been like, oh my god, give up, how do I do this? But now, I've got something that I can come back to. I've got, and Tony, I love that you're keeping a journal. I do too, because I call it my personal indictment. Hold on, I'll grab it. But like,
Personal
you know
indictment.
my personal indictment of how good I have felt for over a year, written out on every page. So if I want to tell myself this doesn't work, I literally have created my own proof in contradiction to that. I can just look at my thing and go, no, I know this works, and today is just a day. You know what? Some days are going to be amazing. I'm going to be flying high and it's awesome. And some days I just need to stand up and keep my head above water. And if that's what I'm going to do today, that's what I'm going to do today. And I just keep trucking on. So I'm so glad to hear that you're having a good experience and finding some fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you're on mute.
no, I think he's
Sorry. Yeah, I think Lillian mentioned it last week, the idea of writing and slowly writing and just writing in your own handwriting is important, because then you can remember it throughout the day. It's not just another document that you've printed up, but it's just a handwritten. The other funny, crazy thing is I'm preparing breakfast or I'm somewhere and I put my drink on a particular word. I'm like, you know what? I want to drink some gratitude here, intermingled with a bit of fun and wholeness. And I'm taking
Love it.
supplements. I'm like, you guys, to drink a cup of gratitude or a cup of wholeness. And I
Yeah.
just play with this whole grid thing as if like I can control this. It's a fucking game.
It is, right? And you
I
make it,
can.
you make it your own. Like, and that's just so fantastic. Love to hear that. Love that experience that you're having, because that's it. Have fun with it. It's for you. It's about you. It is you, right? And you're connecting and just recognizing. And for me, it was so empowering when I realized, I'm like, wait a second, I can do this. No
yeah.
one can stop me. Like, if I have to, I can pull
Yeah.
over my car for 10 minutes and just make a grid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at any point in my day,
Hi.
hi there, I can, just respond as needed. Hey, how's it going?
So
You can
awesome.
even you could call it the game of life. It's like, this is my life, or my daily game. It's like, why not?
Right? Not? Why not? Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
And I love that Tony had the wisdom, I'm going to say, to take his glass of water and put it on gratitude, because you're combining what we've known about programming water from Dr. Imarasu Emoto, where he took, the water and put love versus hate and so forth, and he proved scientifically that, whether you say the word, whether you think the word, or whether you write the word on the water, that it affects the molecular structure of the water. And our
Fantastic. Yeah.
bodies are 70 to 85% water. So as you're doing that, you're not just programming your body and conditioning it to the new mind of these words that you've put on paper, but you've also, now you are structuring your water as you place it on gratitude, as you place it, let's say, on kind or happy. I just copied what Clint just showed us a minute ago on the whiteboard. And as you're placing your cup on those things, the water is actually getting programmed with those words, which I think that's a clue to all of us, that after you make your grid, you might want to take your water bottle and put it on your grid, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's the the power of our creative thought, right? And you know what? What harm would it ever do, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think every opportunity we have to just get in and enjoy this, and I think our lives are meant to be enjoyed, and this is unlocking that key, right? Is going, hey, I can find this. It's there. It's in me all the time. And it's interesting, like I like to say the magic that started to occur for me after practicing, it's not only at an intellectual level is there learning and understanding and kind of developing, and I will say definitely healing. The way I think about my past, the way I think about my future is so much different than I ever have in my life. And it has helped me to grow, I think, as a person, just building this relationship and really starting to understand what is attractive to me, what are those things that call me forward, what am I motivated by, because I'm motivated by these feelings and the things that are connected to these feelings and the things that come that match these feelings, right? But like, just other things that started to occur, me, like, I talked about, been having a kind of tumultuous relationship with my mom for over, I don't know, probably 10 years or so. It was just up and down and back and forth, and could never seem to get to a point where we were really connecting good. And when I started doing this, she was actually out here, so we were seeing each other a little more frequently and just having sometimes these kind of, interactions that were just like, oh, what do I do about this? And so I've started to find that, as I practice this, and I don't know if it was just I was the center that was evoking it, and as I was kind of making room for these better feeling emotions for me and releasing a lot of that, like, our relationship, without saying anything, without resolving anything, without going back and digging up stuff that happened 30 years ago, it just started to get better. And as it started to get better, we started to open up to each other and we started to connect more. And, now I can say, like, I have a really good relationship with my mom. And it's in, like, I wish I could say exactly how it happened, but, I know that when I found the place for me and when I started doing the work on me, a lot of things started changing. A lot of relationships, there were some that just kind of disappeared out of my life, and honestly, like, they weren't, not nothing against the person, but that certain interaction wasn't really, beneficial or benefiting or producing healthy emotions for either one of us, right? So those things start to kind of go away. And I also think too that we have a tendency to want to try to, in a relationship, we want to try to harmonize with that person, where we think they are, who we think they are, what we think they are, and we connect on these kind of identities. And when you no longer setting the groundwork for your relationship based on what you perceive about the other person or what you think the other person perceives about you, you're just now being yourself. You found your stability, you found your grid, you found that place. And that's all I was thinking about when I would come through. I was already happy, I was already in love, I was already in joy, I was already satisfied, I already had gratitude. So now when I'm entering these these interactions with my mom, I'm just bringing health to the table, right? And there were times where I could see she was kind of poking at me, trying to get at me, and I was like, I found this, like, I'm just not going to get mad. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time to be angry, and to let it go. And sure enough, it cleans up. And I'm sure that other people could experience that too, right? And it takes time, though. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over the course of months, but just me really getting in and connecting to that.
So I love what you're saying, because this takes your having to work at fixing the relationship, at your having to, be a psychological master and trying to outsmart, outthink, you know,
Yeah,
Rubik's cubes, figure out how do you make. No, all of that is off the table. Now, all you just simply are focusing on your joy, on, you already have love, you already have happiness, you already have joy, you already have peace, you already have freedom. And so, as you were showing up more whole and complete and in integrity of who you truly were, then the people around you, and in this particular case, your mother, couldn't help but react differently towards you.
yeah,
The things
I
that
believe
she in
that.
the past tried to do as part of her normal MO, to incite a response, to create a reaction, to either trigger you or bait you or poke you, none of those things mattered anymore, because you were now in this whole and complete state. So none of those things were really working anymore, because you were more in a resonant frequency. And then you inevitably pulled her into that higher vibration, where now you both are able to enjoy this beautiful experience. So this is like amazing. The application for this grid work is really, and that's why we're going 5 weeks with this.
Yeah,
This week we're focusing on the win-win relationships, because who doesn't want a win-win relationship in your personal life, in your business, in your neighborhood, in your workplace, in your physical life, and all the different aspects? Everybody
yeah.
does.
Yep.
And so this is a beautiful, simple, fun, gamey way to really mold the clay of your life. And it's really showing all of us, I think more than ever, how we really do live in a holographic universe. And
We
as above, so below.
we do, and we do, and one thing I found about this, and I can't say that it was just that I became better, and then mom stopped all the bad things that were making things bad. I realized that probably before I was doing this work, I was the center that was evoking as much of that as she was as well too, right? Neither one of us were helping each other, and so and that happens, right? You talked about a win-win relationship, and hold on just a moment. Sorry to step out of the screen there.
No,
When
it's all.
we think about that, right? I had someone show this to me almost 20 years ago, and it made a lot of sense. But in relationships, we have the win perspective and the lose perspective, right? And we have the perspective of there's the me and the you, right?
Mhm.
And in any of these relationships, we have a tendency to think that maybe I'm better at this than you are, and that I'm a winner and you're a loser. You know, if if the other person also thinks that you are better than them, you will have a coherent relationship. You won't have any friction in that, but it's not necessarily good for this person, right? If I thought that I was better than someone, right, but they thought they were better than me, you're going to have conflict, right? So this is where conflict, you start to cross those, your perceptions don't match, so you want to try to harmonize. And if you want to harmonize with someone, you don't have a similar perspective, it can create conflict and stuff. So there's other coherent relationships. You might think that you're a loser, and so is everybody else, and there'll be people that harmonize with you, and you'll hold yourself at the bottom, in this idea that we all suck, right? That's a really strong, but sometimes it's very gentle. Sometimes we just feel like we're not worthy, or we're not capable, or there's not enough, or it's all of that lack mindset. But as I started to not worry about what was happening over here, and just focus and realize that this is where I want to be in my grid. I want to think of myself as a winner. I want to think of myself as happy and successful. And I'm building that relationship. What does happy mean to me? What does success mean to me? I'm finding it. I'm feeling good and things are getting better. So when you start to think about relationships, right? If I can do this, and if anybody can do this, then any and everybody has the potential to be here too, right? So
Yeah.
if I think that if anybody has the potential, and I just focus on that potential, now I'm in a win-win relationship, right? I'm allowing the people that I'm interacting with to rise as high and maybe even higher than me, because if they rise higher than me, then I know that means there's more for me to rise too, right? So there's no limit to this. I'm amazing and so are you, right? That's the way I like to say, to frame the relationship. I'm amazing and so are you. Now, if someone doesn't think they're amazing, right? If they're still thinking that I'm better than them, they'll find some coherence, because I think that I'm good. I think that I'm a winner, right? What I hope to do is, through the influences, is to let them know that, look, so are you. There's no reason for you to be down there. So now you're expressing love. I say that love and pity can't be felt in the same heartbeat, because when we pity someone, when we feel sorry for them, we look at them and we go, man, you don't have what I have. You don't have what it takes, or man, you're really struggling, or you're really without, right? We're now witnessing and starting to hold this person in the frame of our mind as not having it. If we really love someone, if we really want to care about someone, we're going to look at them and know that they have everything they need, that they
Yeah.
have every possibility. They just need to recognize that in themselves. And we can't go into their minds and change that for them, but we can live the best possible life that we can live, and create an example for them to go, well, how do you do that? How do you get there, right? And then hopefully they can model that or find their own way to it.
Yeah, I love what you just said too about love and pity can't live in the same heart space, because that's true. The vibration of the emotion of pity and the thought of pity is a lower vibrational frequency, which is very, very fine tuned to fear, because pity is an inference of fear. There's fear that someone isn't going to rise up to the occasion, or there's not enough of them to rise to the occasion so that they can accomplish whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I like, I've got small kids, and this was a tough thing to practice for me because like sometimes they're, reaching for something. I'm like, oh, I'll just go get it for them. But then I had to stop and go, well, no, that's not me loving them. That's me pitying them and doing it for them. So I'd go, you know what? I know you're fully capable in doing this yourself. I know that you're fully capable to figure this out. And, I can even give you some advice or some direction, but I need you to do this because I know you can do it, and then they get that when someone gets to do it for themselves, we don't want to do this work. You don't want to try to be someone's point of alignment. You don't want to try to be someone's connection to source. What you want is them to have that open, free connection, because if they can get it theirself, they can hold their self in that space, and then they know that space. And then you know what? Because they're there and you're there, you're going to find harmony more often with that person, far more than if you try to do it for them, because then they're always going to be dependent on you to get there.
Yeah.
So can I just butt in?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Go ahead, Tony.
What I found was I created so much sort of love for myself and so much ease and so much just that loving feeling that from that was really great. My days were great. And each time I'd come back to this, and during the day I'd look at it, and all I would feel was, this beautiful inner feeling in it, and that growing. And knowing that actually that's all I really need to grow, and just because you lose it, in a couple of hours I'll have a conflict with someone or whatever. So you just come back to loving and feeling that and staying longer and longer in that. And then my interactions were so more beautiful because I wasn't dependent upon what they did or said. I was still in this core channel of loving myself, which is freaking huge for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like I had these experiences just going to like the gas station, and I pull up and I walk up and like, I'm feeling amazing. And someone just opens the door and they're like, after you, sir. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And I walk in and someone else is walking by and they're like, good morning. And I'm like, good morning. And I'm like, I feel like that, like I'm about to have Mr. Bluebird come down and land on my shoulder. Like I'm in a Disney movie in the gas station, because everybody's just so kind and happy. And like the person where I'm having, heartfelt conversations with the person behind the counter. And I'm like, what is happening? This is wild, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. I actually could count how many people were looking at me differently, talking to me. I'm like, what have I got? Have I got some shit on me? What is it? What are they looking at? What is it they're feeling? And it was blowing my mind. It's like, I didn't know so many people noticed me.
Yeah, right.
You're glowing.
I started to feel sexy, sensual. I'm like, these are my new words. Like I'm going to start feeling sexy and sensual and and I'm like, wow, I'm living it, because there's a reflection, there's coming back at me.
Yeah, no, I'll get right there with you. I've put sexy in my grid. Like I felt at times, like, you know what I mean? Like it sometimes you feel kind of ashamed, like, oh, should I feel this? But when really being honest with myself, I was like, no, I do. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel attractive. I want to feel beautiful. I want to feel, I want to feel these good things, because they're great emotions and they're great experiences. Why would I cut myself off from them?
And then I saw the reaction. It actually brought more joy to the space, more joy to others. It allowed others to lower their barriers and soften and be sexy and sensual and flirty. I'm like, wow, this is joy. You're just throwing joy into the space, and you're just allowing everyone else to experience joy rather than freaking misery. I mean, you drop misery, and you know where that goes. The effect of misery is really miserable.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And there's a lot of people hanging out in that space. So you get there and look, they'll find you quick, right? They're ready to grab on. But the great thing is, to me, it's like having that rope. No matter where I go, I can just kind of pull that line back. Like you said, you find it. Pick up pick up your grid, look at it again. Sometimes I'll just sit down and just, hey, I'll make a new grid for the moment or for whatever it is. Like, and I do it sometimes. Maybe if I'm feeling like I'm kind of getting off, I'll do it to calibrate or maintain. I'll kind of work my grid and get me back. Sometimes I'm just feeling incredible, and I'm like, look, I want to check my grid. What's my grid look like right now? Because I am feeling wildly good right now. So what does this look like? And so I draw that grid, and then I look at that and I realize that grid's a picture of me. It's who I am in that moment, and I can see it, and I'm relating to it in my brain, and I created it through writing, and it's already part of me. So, it's a fantastic experience. I'm loving this that you're having, Tony.
Hey, Clint, can you sleep on it?
Yeah,
Put it on your pillow. Put it on your pillow.
Yeah,
a couple
why
of crystals. I'm
Yes,
like, God forbid, imagine what you wake up, imagine what your dreams are going to be like. Shit.
yeah.
So, you know what? I may give that a shot tonight. I hadn't thought about that, but it's fantastic. I love it. I love
That's a
it.
great idea. And so this is part of it's so fascinating because we've heard Greg Braden talks about the Essenes talk about mirrors, how everything is a mirror. And it's like when you first hear that, you're kind of like, what? How is that even possible? How is everybody you pushed out? At first that doesn't make sense. And so I'm going to share something that Terry just shared with me just this last week because
Sure.
this is showing us how everything really is a mirror. Again, we hear about as above, so below, and sometimes we don't understand what does that mean because we sometimes think it's like as above, like in the heavens, so it is here on earth. Okay, no, really, what that means is as above, as you think of it in your mind, then so it is in the exterior. So you're sharing with us, Clint, that as we do the grid work that you have just been sharing with us, as we program and code ourselves for the emotions and the experiences that we want, like love, joy, sexy, cute, beautiful, etc., that we start to bring more of that into our experience. So now Tony is seeing that as he's embodying these emotions, all these people are seeing this glow about him, and guess what? They're mirroring back that same joy, that same love, that same sexiness, that same sensuality. And so it's a mirror reflection of who he has coded himself to be on purpose. Instead of going with his default, he is mindfully deciding how he wants to show up in the world, and guess what? The world is reflecting back the same thing to him. And so
Yeah.
I want to share for a second Terry's experience because I thought, Terry, actually, maybe, do you mind sharing the experience about the knife?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it was such a great story. If you want to say it, I'd rather you say it.
I guess.
Okay. So what Terry shared with me, because we had these conversations about, the mirrors and so forth, and about consciousness, etc. And so she told me that she had this knife that was on her kitchen counter, and then as she became aware that this knife was on the kitchen counter, she said in her thoughts, "Oh my God, that knife is gonna fall on my foot and cut me." And sure enough, as soon as she said that, that knife fell straight on her foot and cut her. The
Wow.
moment it cut her, she realized, oh my gosh, my conscious awareness created that. I could have thought instead, oh my God, that knife is going to fall off the counter and hit the tile floor, but I directed it to cut my foot, so it did.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
everything became crystal clear. So every time, so our conversation, we had a fascinating conversation, as you can only imagine, about consciousness in that moment and how we create the wanted and the unwanted. The consciousness doesn't care if it's unwanted or unwanted, it creates.
Yeah.
So with that, we became more and more aware of the responsibility that we have in fine-tuning our awareness. And so I had to share that with you because Tony this is another depiction of how that mirror actually works.
Yeah, 100%. It does, right? So, and that's a fantastic story. So, thanks so much for sharing that. But it is right. It is a mirror, and it's amazing what our thoughts can do. And I think when I kind of started digging into the idea of manifestation, and I'd write down the things that I want. And, it's always about imagine where it is and feel that moment, feel the receiving of it in the now moment, and experience it. You know, I was thinking, okay, well, you know what? Now I have to, I'm gonna wait for this thing. I trust the universe. I know it'll work everything out. But what do I do in the meantime? Like, what do I do in the day to day? And this is to me another reason why I love having this daily practice. When I can sit down and I can go, you know what? I want to feel happy, and within minutes feel happy. And sometimes the more you practice it, you just say the word happy and you feel it, right? It's an instant manifestation, right? It's an instant manifestation that is going to be in aligned with every other manifestation that you've wanted out there, right? Because everything that we want because of those feelings that we'll feel. And we know we're not supposed to wait for that event to have the feeling, that we need to have it now. So you know what? We can do it. We can have all these feelings now. And so I can get up with confidence and sit there and build my grid and say, you know what? I don't have to worry about what I put in my manifestation, in my vortex, or in my future. Like, I don't know, because I know that this will get me there, and I'm going to feel the best possible way I can on the journey.
Yeah, so it really is a very empowering tool. And the fact that I think this also brings to light how our thoughts really are a form of manifestation, and thoughts are actually things.
Yeah.
Then, so as you take it out from thought form and bring it out into 3D and you're actually writing it down, that is another manifestation, because now it's outside of your head and now it's in 3D. And so now you have the power of two dimensions, the dimension of the mind and then the 3D experience where you actually are seeing it in the 3D, and then you're actually coding it, literally coding it to your brain as you're writing it down. You're actually neurosomatically, if you're right-handed, it's going into the left side of your brain, and you're starting to engrave that into your memory bank, and you're kinesthetically feeling it as you're writing it, in your notebook.
Yeah.
And then as you have your conscious awareness reading what you have just written, so it starts to cycle that energy through, so that now as you move forward in your day, even if you don't consciously think about the grid, subconsciously, that's a program that you've encoded in your brain. So you have neural pathways that are entrenched in there. Even if you're not thinking about them, your subconscious mind is very aware of it. So now your reticular activating system is actually on a search and deploy to find. It's like, okay, this is what she has coded, what Clint has coded to find. So now we got it. That's where our focus is, not on the default stuff. This is our mission, is to find happiness, to find kindness, to find sexiness, to find sensuality, to find all these wonderful things, this freedom, this peace, this clarity of mind, this certainty. So now you have targets that your brain is actually, the reticular activating system has been activated to find, and then to show you evidence of that. And so Tony's got all these people going, "Hey, baby, how you doing today?"
Yeah, no, I think about this kind of in two ways. What you're talking about, one, just on a really practical sense, like if you think about a tiger shark, when they're in the water and they're looking for food, so they want the scent of blood, so they're swimming through this miasma of water, everywhere, and all of a sudden that scent hits their nose. Well, their RAS is tied to that. So what they'll do is they'll move back and forth, and if the scent gets stronger, they start to move in that direction. If it gets weaker, they turn, and this will dial them in. And there's an element of this, right? So you're getting the scent of love, you're getting the scent of joy, you're getting the scent of happiness, right? And as you're kind of moving through your day, you're going, oh, that may not smell like as much happiness, but man, I can smell it over there, I can feel it that direction. And then the other side of it is on a vibrational level, as you are getting yourself into that signal to where that frequency can interact with you and you can experience it. You're sending it, but you're also a receptor for it. So all the love that has been there that you haven't been feeling because you haven't been in the vibration of it, you're now aware of it. You start to realize, oh, love's abundant. It's everywhere. I mean, and it's not just people. I don't have to worry about people. Look, I can feel love from, the trees, the grass, the sky, the fact that the sun came up this morning. It wasn't on my to-do list. Like, it's amazing. This world is perfectly designed for our well-being and our abundance, so it's connecting at that level and letting yourself, like you said, the RAS and your emotional system, your mind, your thinking, getting it dialed in to where you are feeling and receiving, and at the same time it's sending. It's much like the healing meditations. I think it was such a beautiful thing that I can sit and be present and project love and healing and wholeness to someone, and they can benefit from it, and at the same time, so am I. Like, this is truly a win-win relationship, right? Because I'm seeing them in the perfect condition that I know that they can be. I know that they will be. There's no reason not to. And I'm sharing the wholeness that I'm feeling now with them to help them recognize and create those emotional signatures so they can get that smell of wholeness and health in their body. And meanwhile, it's fantastic for me too. So it's a giving and a receiving relationship, and it takes just getting up into that spot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's truly a win-win, a really win-win situation. And I want to touch upon the aspect, because I don't think that everyone may be thinking about this. There's a lot, obviously, to learn and to absorb. But today our focus is on the win-win relationships. And inherently, when you decide, you have a choice. You don't have to do any of this, of course. You don't have to do any self-improvement, any personal growth. But of course, then you get to keep whatever your default situation is, right? So, but we are choosing it. We want this. And so, as we choose to do this, we're taking personal responsibility, we're deciding to do this, we are upping our vibe, we're feeling more love, we're experiencing more of these positive emotions. This is not only a gift to us, this is also a gift to anyone and everybody that comes in contact with us in any way, shape, or form. It is affecting their life experience too in a positive way because you're in a higher vibrational, stage of being. And
Yeah.
so as you do that, that's a win for you and a win for them. You're creating inadvertently another win-win situation.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, kind of to bring it back around to the core of relationships, it's the state you want to be in. You need to be a winner and to recognize other people as a winner. You need to get to that space. You need to be able to really truly see yourself as something you value and understand the value that you can generate and appreciate, and I found, for me, there was so much that, we think we know what people are thinking. Maybe I'm thinking about this, or what if everybody thinks this and what everybody thinks that. But the truth is, what I found in this as I was going through this process is, when I think someone's thinking something, they're not actually thinking that. I'm thinking it, right? It's still in my head. It's my idea of what they think.
Yeah.
So I can't blame them for what I think they think, because they might think it, but maybe they don't, right? And if I start to react and respond based on that thought, then excuse me, they're going to be in a position where they may feel like they need to defend a thought they never had, right? That's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for anyone. But when I when I realized that, all I need to do is worry about where I am, and know with confidence that everyone has the potential to be there. And that's the way I'm going to perceive people, as having the potential to reach their highest potential. And I'm going to get there and believe that people can be there too. It takes so much stress out of it. I don't need to worry about the way other people are thinking about me. I don't need to worry about what
No,
the world could consider or anything. I just need to
doesn't
worry
matter.
about how I feel in this now moment, and
Yeah.
let that lead me to my best destiny. Right?
That is absolutely fantastic. So I want to open the floor here. If anybody has any questions, any comments, any concerns, if you have, I know we showed the grid in the traditional square type of format, and then we opened the show also here with showing the triangle shaped, which I
Yeah.
think is so awesome. That looks so cool. I know that you said you've had people do it in a circle, which I thought that was kind of interesting. If maybe you want to do a sample circle while the folks that are here on the Zoom call may want to ask questions about any
Sure.
aspect of this grid
So
work.
so I had seen some people do a circle like this, and they actually kind of did the polls where they would do their word up here, joy, and then the other word here, here, and
Oh, okay.
here, and then do kind of the core words here. Now, I understand there are some, like, Native American techniques with the wheels and stuff like that, that they
Oh,
were using some relationship, so they were bringing that aspect into it. And you know,
oh,
to me, it's like, I love what Tony's doing with the web, because Tony started making it his own. He started connecting to
yes.
it. That's what makes it work, right? So that's why I say I do it in a 16 by 16 grid. I teach it basically in a square, but the magic is really finding out how you want to feel, and then letting yourself, taking a moment, giving yourself a moment to feel those things, and then doing it in a way that is fun and productive. And there's a certain amount of, if it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to do it, it's 10 to 15 minutes that you're giving your brain a break. You're not worried about your stress. You're not worried about your work. You're not worried about what happened yesterday or what could happen tomorrow. You just get in that moment, and you let your brain start to trigger and release those good, healthy hormones. It creates those positive sensations, right? And getting that signal. So, to me, I feel like if a person woke up in the morning and they loved working with their hands, maybe they don't like words, maybe they don't even like their own handwriting, but they could do something like clay pottery or drawing, or something. But maybe draw or paint the word happy, or paint the emotion you feel, paint a picture of how you imagine yourself feeling, right? But it's really understanding that that needs to come from you and is part of you, and that you're the one that's creating that. So whatever the method is find your way in there. If you want to make a triangle, a pentagon, hexagram, whatever it is, right? Whatever shape works for you, or however it works for you, do what works for you.
Well, I think that that's a fantastic point that you're making, because people can, like you said, it's really important to make the process your own so that you're at home with it and you're very intuitively guided to receive whatever it is that you need in order to get the most out of this, like Tony did with, his geometrical like webbing and so forth, and then putting his, I just love how he put the water on the word
That
gratitude.
was really cool.
So cool, very epic. Yeah, that's very, very cool. Because I'm going to do that now too. But making it your own, and so yeah, there's multiple applications to this. Some people are more word oriented. Some people maybe are more artistic. And so next week, I'd like for us to show some examples. I know that Brad had shared in the very first class. He shared about that gal who she was doing the grid work, and then she actually created incredible artwork that would
Hmm.
have different words that would go in the grid. And so the part of the grid work which has to do with the feeling, what would happy feel like, what would joy feel like, what would ecstasy feel like, she actually did beautiful artwork where it's not super obvious that the word's in there, but if you look for it you can find the word
Yeah,
happy. But that, as she created that artwork, she was feeling happiness. And so
yeah,
she created this piece of artwork that embodied the feeling for her of happiness. And now, those of us who are able to appreciate the beauty of the artwork, you can feel the happiness in that artwork. So I'm really excited that next week we'll be able to talk and elaborate a little bit more and share how some people have used art and possibly music to embody that emotional feeling. Um,
yeah.
I, I want to preface that also by saying that I know for myself and it's like, there's so many clues in our, like if you go back to childhood. And so for me, when I was a child, I played piano and I played instruments and so forth. And I
Another
remember,
great avenue. Yeah,
yeah, music and the creating of music and playing of instruments and so forth it's an expression, right? And so I remember the days that I was like really happy, I would play a lot of songs that were in major chords and so forth. But the days that for whatever reason I was a little bit sadder, or maybe somebody said something or looked at me cross-eyed or something and I was slighted, then those were the days where I played songs that were in the minor tones. And then I would just allow, it's like I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't feel that it was okay for me to say I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling like bummed out, or no. So instead my piano was like a safe extension of me, where I
yeah,
could let my feelings out, and I just played until I got those feelings out literally on the keyboard, and I was hearing what I was feeling through the type of music that I would play.
yeah.
And so that is part of what we're doing here with this grid work. It's like we're focusing on those words, whatever number you get to pick, 4, 8, 12, 16, 3, 6, 9, 15, 18, 21. It doesn't matter. You pick the
Right.
number of words that you want, because you're coding yourself to the life that you want it to be.
Yep.
And now you allow yourself to feel that. Either you continue molding the clay with the words, or you might have an artistic expression, which again next week we'll take that session. We'll show the different artistic forms of expression. I would venture to say that some people will take canvas, or maybe they'll take charcoal or pencils, or maybe there's an art form called dippling, which is they just take a black marker and they create an entire beautiful picture just from it's a myriad of dots, kind of like pixels.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of different ways that this can be used, which is all about programming yourself. You're doing the grid work on the inside, bringing it outside so that then it's like in 3 dimensions in
Yeah.
your experience. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, I've even picked up, one day I was just sitting with my notepad and, sometimes I feel like I get these inspirations where I just say like, pick up your pen and write, and so I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'll write. So I just rested my hand and I felt like my hand was shaking and I just started letting it make marks. And next thing I know, I had this close up picture of a sunflower just made out of just ink, right? Just nothing. And, all the curves and the lines. And I'm like, I don't even know how to draw. Like, where's this stuff coming from? And
apparently you do.
apparently I do. And, so I like to think that if there's over 7 billion people in the world, there are over 7 billion paths to fulfillment, to happiness and joy. There is something for every single person out there, and just always encourage people, find that thing that works for you, find that way to connect. If what you're experiencing on a daily basis isn't what you want, you got to start practicing what you do want to feel, and find something, even if it just gets you a little closer, and just go in that direction, because eventually it's going to connect, it's going to manifest in your body. You're going to get that sensation, and once you feel it, no one can take it from you. You know it's real. No one can talk you out of it. No one can convince you it's wrong. No one, no, it doesn't matter. They can disbelieve you all you want, but like you're like, no, I know this works. I know this. I feel this. I know this is real to me. And that's what's exciting about me is it's I know it. I know it's real to me. I'm experiencing it, I'm living it, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving myself for it. Right? I write love letters to myself now. It's the oddest things have come out in my life that I do. But it's a fantastic experience. And could you say that everything in my world around me has changed? No, some things have gotten better, have gotten much better, and I've quit paying attention to the things that weren't so great. But at the center of it, where I am, it's fantastic, and I believe that it's just going to continue to grow to be more and more fantastic.
Would you be okay if I shared one of the art pieces that you drew on in your notebook, where it's just a pen to paper?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought these were so cool. This is one of the, whoops, it just turned off. So this was one of the, so he's talking about how he's allowing himself to feel, and then he doesn't think he's an artist, but I'm like, wait a minute, to me, that's pretty detailed. That's pretty artistic.
Yeah, yeah. The
There's,
doorway at the end of the road, right? So there's just the road there, and then goes to another universe, right? That's right here within our universe.
yeah. And then there's this one, which I thought was really fantastic. He shared this in our private group on Telegram. But it's like this incredible tree and this vortex of energy that is just swirling around this tree. I hope you guys can kind of see it well. I'm trying to
Yeah,
get.
yeah. We can see well.
Can you see it pretty good?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just it's like very detailed. So it's like, I mean, I know you say that you're not an artist, you're not a I would beg to differ with you. I would say, Clint, you have been a closeted artist. This is like, look at the detail of that tree. It's like the intricacy. It's like, hello. So I think a lot of you here are going to discover that you have latent gifts and abilities. And look at the detail of like the strength of the man that's the tree trunk, which is, that guy's got like amazing washboard abs and very the musculature is incredible. So these things are all possible for any and all of us that are here. And I can't wait to see the other drawings. Every time you share drawings in our group on Telegram, I'm always looking forward to it, because it has that spiritual feeling to it. It's clearly an inspired drawing. So
Yeah.
I just got to thank you for what you have shared, what you are sharing, and what you will share in the future, Clint, because I think it really is quite magnificent. So,
Well, thank you. I'm happy to see that people are responding. And Tony, thank you so much. It's just great to hear that fantastic story. It makes me really happy. It makes me feel, good to have shared something that's having that effect in someone's life, because you want people like, look, when you feel really good, you just want everybody to feel really good. Like, you're like, oh, look, it's not as hard as you think. It just
Yeah.
takes a little practice, and man, you can get on this train, and that train's taking you straight to glory. It's just a good ride. You just got to get on the train. You got to start, doing the practice and decide
Well,
you
I'm
want to be there.
excited. I'm really excited, and now because I'm a single
Tony.
dad with I have a son with a disability who I look after, and I realized I have a bit of a program that's like, this is too hard, and listening to you today is like, oh my God, I can do one of these the day before or hours before I pick him up, and start to set it up differently, rather than, oh my God, the dread or the heaviness or the hardship. It's
Yeah.
like, shit, what would I like to experience with my son Oliver for the next 3 days?
That's it.
Would that work? How about that?
Yeah, so no, 100%. I do that a lot. Like, I'll be honest, maybe it's cheating, but I did one before I got on this call, and I was like, what do I want to experience on this call? I want to have fun, and I want to have a sense of clarity, and like, I want to be kind, and I want to be helpful, and I want to be these things. And I created those signatures before I even get into the interaction, right? So now I'm realizing that if I know something's coming up, well, how do I want to feel about it? I don't think about how do I want it to turn out. I don't try to control it or construct it or decide what it needs to do or do anything particular like that. I don't get specific. I just ask myself, how do I want to feel in this experience? I want to feel good. I want that this, I want to feel confident, whatever it is, right? Just dial that feeling in, spin up a grid, get to that feeling of it, and then go into that interaction and watch what happens. I have seen I went to buy a vehicle. A lot of people know kind of sometimes the whole car sales experience is just horrible, right? Did this grid. I had these people running around. Like I felt like I was a movie star. They're like, oh, you want this and you want that. And you know what? Hey, we're just going to take, 10% off the price. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, it's just wild, right? But it's just getting yourself in that mode and then letting what happens. And it's amazing what the universe will show you.
I think we're gonna reserve for next week. There's a little magic that was around your really cool truck. He got a very souped up truck, and he had a very magical license plate show up. So we're gonna see that for next week. We're not gonna share it this week, so you'll have to show up next week to see. Because that, I think, it really goes to show you guys how effective and how powerful this tool is. All you have to do is do it, and it doesn't take very long. So we could probably go on for 2-3 more hours, but we're going to probably, unless somebody has a question right now, we're going to wrap this up. I'll give a minute. I'm going to check to see if
is it show and tell for next week? It's like who's manifested the most, the best, the greatest? I'm challenging. I'm in the challenge.
Bring it. I love it.
I want to encourage everybody here that is on this broadcast, whether you're in the Zoom or whether you're plugging in through YouTube Live. I want to encourage you to use the grid to manifest. Set your day, set the grid for your day, how you want to experience it. But if you have an important meeting, if you're going on a date, if you have a job interview, if you're going to a doctor's appointment, anything to that effect, just like Clint did. He gave you a very valuable clue. Right before this broadcast, he did a grid work, and he wanted to have fun, which we can all be witnesses to the fact and testify that, yes, he absolutely had fun. We've seen him giggle here all night long. Yeah. So I want to encourage you guys to play with the grid. You could do like a 3 or a 6-9 word grid. It doesn't have to be, 4 words, 2 and 2. And just set it up for any interaction that you have. Maybe you're going to be talking to either your mom or your brother, your cousin, or maybe it's a difficult person in your life. Maybe before you get on that phone call, maybe you might want to do a little grid. It's like, how do I want this phone call to go with so-and-so? And then,
how do I want to feel?
Yeah, how do I want to feel? He said it very clearly here. How do I want, my handwriting's not that great. It was kind of like my scribbling notes, but how do I want to feel in this experience? So set that intention. How do I want to feel? And then write it out. I want to feel confident. I want to feel joyous. I want to feel clear-minded. I want to feel like I've created a win-win. And then let it go. And then with that energy, now go into making that phone call or receiving that phone call or getting on that Zoom. I think it would be an absolute fun thing to be able to hear all from you guys next week. Okay, what happened? What are your results? Let's see what's the word grid challenge. What are the results you guys are having? Because I know that it's going to be fun and exciting for us to hear. It's like, oh my gosh, that happened? Are you kidding me? So
my truck's going to be bigger than yours, Clint.
Hey, I love it. It's wonderful.
Just wait and see.
Yeah. No, it's the good part, right? Like we can all have whatever we want, so just bring it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys and for putting it on. Really do. It's made my week.
You're welcome. You've made our week and our day and our month by you being here. All of you guys for being on this broadcast tonight. Thank you. This has been a kick in the pants. I'm having a blast. Clint is having a blast too. I'm going to speak for you, Clint, but you might want to chime in and say, yeah, I'm having fun too.
I'm having an absolutely great time. I think, Terry, did you put your hand up? Did you have something?
I did. Clint, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you for your tenacity of working through that dark time in your life, and what a joy and a blessing it's bringing to all of us. And
Thank you.
it's just so elegant. It's both the simplicity of it and the effectiveness of it. Like, I get it. I get it. And my vision for my life, I wrote that down. I said, I radiate joy and inspire others to follow their bliss and experience their soul's highest potential. So you use those same words towards the end of your talk, people's highest potential. I'm like, yes, like we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Others tools to reach their highest potential.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the joy of it, right? You get there. Once you know how good it is, and you know that it's abundant, there's no need to try to hold it off, hide it. You're like, look, it's unlimited. There's way more than I could ever take. So come on, let's all tap in and get some joy going on, right? Let this world be the happy, beautiful, wonderful place it's meant to be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Terry.
Thank you.
High five for you too, Terry. Thank you for sharing. Okay, if anybody else wants to say something, either speak now or you'll have to hold on to it till next week.
I just want to say thank you so much. I'm very inspired and eager to give this a try. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm eager to hear how it's working for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pollyanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rumi. Thank you, Rumi and
Thank
Liliana.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Lillian, for doing all this, getting us together.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure, and you're welcome. It's a joy. So I want to encourage you guys to check out the Intuition Manifesto, because if you are looking to tune in, tap in, turn on into your intuition and wanting to take it up a notch, that's exactly what this book is about, is to help you open the gateway to your dreams and unlock your intuition so that you have greater levels of intuition. This grid work process is a very intuitively guided process, which is going to naturally help unlock more of that. Things will become more crystal clear for you in your life because you're actually creating them as you go with intention. So that's what this is all about. Clint, I'm so lucky. I actually got to kiss and hug you for 7 days, 8 days in a row, in person, when we were in Cancun. So I just have to remember what that was like. It was
Yeah.
so awesome.
I love you, Lillian.
I
Love you all.
you
Thank you so
too.
much.
My friend, my gem, you know I absolutely adore you and love you to the moon and back. And so I will see you guys all next Thursday again at 7 p.m. Clint, we talk every day in our group. Yay! Some of us get to talk every day. So until we meet again, let's see. Oh my gosh, somebody has a quick question in the chat. Oh, they were saying thank you. You're welcome, and see ya. So thank you, my friend and gems. Ciao for now.
Bye all.
Bye all.